just before the break when someone texted in and said, "Go the bay, Leah," and then Kelly kind of questioned what bay. Could be any bay, Bay of Plenty. Came back the real bay, Hawke's Bay. Yes, where all the lovely wine is produced. Yes, it is. And the amazing crops as well. And that's what we're going to talk about now, you see. A plan for future housing in Hawke's Bay has sparked controversy over its proposal to use productive food growing land. The Heretatonga Plains spread over 300 square kilometres from the hills of Hawke's Bay out to the coastline, and much of that area is a patchwork of crops and farms covering the fertile food-producing soils that have formed over millions of years. The Future Development Strategy, the FDS, replaces the now expired Heretatonga Plains Urban Development Strategy, which ceased to exist in 2020. It guides the location of urban, industrial and commercial development in the two districts of Hastings and Napier over the next 30 years and is a government requirement. A joint committee of representatives from Napier City Council, Hastings District Council, Hawke's Bay Regional Council and iwi have been working on the FDS for 2 years. Richard Gaddum formed the Save the Plains group 5 years ago to try and protect the soils and prevent the urban sprawl from Hastings and Napier eating into the precious and productive land. And he joins me now. Richard, good afternoon.
Hello, Leah.
I think my producer told you I'm a Bay girl, grew up in Hastings.
Good for you.
So very familiar with the region. And
35 degrees here at the moment. Yeah, it's really hot.
I thought it was about 27, but my gosh, it gets hot, eh? Jeez.
Yeah.
Richard, can we discuss this land, the one we're talking about? It's obvious there is obviously a need for housing, but it is distressing to think this land that is very special could potentially be covered with housing. Tell us why it is so special.
Well, Leah, 5 years ago, as you mentioned in your intro, I formed this Save the Plains group because I was so annoyed with the incessant behaviour of councils just spreading out their urban developments over these beautiful plains. And, of course, when I sort of talked to councils about it, they just sort of fobbed me off with a cup of tea and a piece of cake and tried to send me on my way. And this got me pretty angry. So I formed this group and I thought, well, bugger you, we're going to do something about this. We'll attempt to anyway. And this has been going on for decades, Leah, this planning of these councils has just moved out beyond the city boundaries, a little bit here and a little bit there, and nibbling away at the city boundaries for years and years. And then, of course, when they do another plan, they just come and do a little bit more there and a little bit more here. And their sort of excuses that, we're just tidying things up, Richard, just to make things sort of better. And but of course, at the end of the day, they are doing it because it's easier and cheaper for them to do that while pulling in rates. And, we've been at them for years now to get them to try and develop on unproductive land, which is there's lots of it here in Hawke's Bay.
So, Richard, could you explain to me the national policy statement on high productive land became law in 2022. It aims to protect elite class 1, 2 and 3 soils across the country. Yeah. Does the Heretatonga Plains not fall under that?
Most certainly does. It covers the whole of New Zealand, so that all of class 1 to all of New Zealand. So all of class 1, 2 and 3 soils over all New Zealand is now protected. But even though this what's called NPS HPL, or the Natural Policy Statement on Highly Productive Land, is in existence, these councils are just taking no notice of it. In fact, the policy says that highly productive land, the class 1, 2, and 3, is to be protected at all times, unless, and this is unless, it's clause 3.6 in the document, unless councils have first considered alternative options such as intensification in existing urban areas, rezoning on unproductive land as urban land, and rezoning highly productive land with a lower productive capacity. And they've just taken no notice of it. In fact, the brief that was given to the consulting company in Auckland, Barker and Associates, the brief said the highly productive land on the Heretaunga Plains is to be protected for food-producing purposes. And they've just taken no notice of it. I mean, it's an absolute scandal. So,
what does Richard? What does Save Our Plains do then? What does your group? What can you do?
As a result of this?
Yeah, I mean, you formed it 5. Yeah, you formed it 5 years ago. What is your strategy? What do you do?
Well, we've been hounding these councils, giving many presentations, and working on with them the planning of for their future planning.
Yeah.
And had workshops with them. We've been very active, giving writing submissions, lobbying hard, and we were sort of making some traction. Like we've got the wonderful showgrounds here in Hastings that the main event really, of course, is the Horse of the Year and the Hawke's Bay show, which you've probably been to.
Yes, I have. Love them.
Well, there was a developer that came along and offered them huge money to buy it and put it all in houses. Well, we stopped there. So that was a coup.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah,
Richard,
so that was
okay.
that was a good thing.
That's a good thing. Can you tell us about? Sorry, Richard, to interrupt. Could you tell us about the Mission Hills project? Because you think that's quite a good example of developing away from fertile soil, don't you?
Oh, that's an amazing development they're doing up there. It's about 270 hectares, I think, and there's provision for up to about 800 homes.
Wow.
Each home has got a view. There's going to be shops and playgrounds and bush areas and bike tracks, and I mean, it's just incredible what this is going to do for the bay.
Yeah.
And of course, we do need housing.
Yes.
There's no doubt about that.
Yes.
But we've got lots of unproductive land to do that on in this area. But on the same token, there's a need for high-end housing as well. We need to attract, people with wealth to the area to sort of progress it. But of course, sadly, we're not actually addressing this issue that well.